Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's live coding exercise. My name is Matt Christensen, and today we're going to do a code review of an extension. Matt Lacey was so kind as to volunteer his extension for code review for all of us to go through together, and I think we should do just that. So today is a little bit different because I've got James helping me out here. He's actually producing the show. So he's doing the whole camera thing. He's making sure everything is displayed correctly, that we get to the comments and all that sort of stuff. So a little bit of change from last week. So with that in mind, I think we should just get to it. And of course, make sure to go to the comments or the live chat and ask your comments over there if you're watching live. And if you're not, then comment below and I will answer any question you might have after the fact if you watch this on YouTube, let's say. In the future. So, James, let's switch over to my browser. This is an extension. This is called Rapid XAML Toolkit, and it's by Matt Lacey. Now he's writing a lot of extensions. He's rather prolific, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he's been doing here. I'm not really familiar with this particular extension very much, though I have seen it out there, and it's pretty popular actually. And but it's the first time I visit his page here on GitHub. So let's see here. What does it actually do? So there's some screenshots here. I always look for screenshots when I want to see what an extension does. It's okay. So there's some Rosen analyzers going on here. So, okay. So that's where these green squigglies come from, and they then fill up the error list. Okay. Other than that, I can't really tell what it does without reading. So, okay. So I can read here. It does a few things. Now I'm a sort of a visual learner. So I need some visuals here to very quickly let me see what's going on. Is there a right click menu somewhere? Is there a button that you can click, or if so, show it to me. I want to see what I'm getting. So we haven't even gotten to the code yet, but that's like one thing that I always look at, like, is the README file actually done in a way that very easily, quickly describe to me what is the value prop of this extension, what does it do, and what can I expect? Okay, like, does it add a tool window? What does it do?
So we got some questions or some stuff from Matt Lacey up over here. So we'll go ahead and put him on really quick.
It's technically several extensions, he says. Yes. So that's right. And we're going to get to that because we're going to see how that's an extension pack, which is one of my favorite things. So let's just clone this. What happened there? There we go. And then go to Visual Studio and open the solution, this one. So one of the things we want to make sure really quickly is that when we have something open source that we want other people to contribute to, we should make sure that it builds immediately. So, okay, I don't have the universal Windows platform. I'm going to just skip that for now for this hour here. So I can't load a specific project. There's a component of Visual Studio that I don't have installed on this particular machine. And so I don't really need that. So we should be able to build it without this test app right here. So let's just go ahead and do that. Let's see here. It's building. There's a whole bunch of test stuff that doesn't work. So I'm going to just basically remove sort of the test projects here, just to make sure that I can build, okay? Manual, sure. And let's try again. So the reason they couldn't build could be because of that UWP thing. Okay, there's something weird going on. I'm just going to close that down. And then let's open that again. Maybe my Visual Studio had some sort of, I don't know, could be a cache, MS Build, something. All right. So let's go take a look what we got here. I'm going to hit F7. This is the VSIX manifest. F7 takes me straight into the XML instead of the design mode. So if I just double click, for instance, it would open in the design view. I like to just go straight in here and look. All right, let's take a look. So we're dealing with something in preview, I take it, since it start with a 0. You know, there is a new thing we can do. We can actually, what is it? Yeah, preview. We can actually set it to preview true. And if we do that, then it gets like a preview badge. So if you go up here, I think I have an extension installed with a preview badge somewhere. Here, this one, for instance. It will say preview like this. And on the marketplace, it will also say preview. So if you have an extension that has a version number lower than 1, like 0 point something, then you might want to do preview true. This supports 16 and 17. So that means it supports 2019. It doesn't support 17, sorry. It supports all versions of 16 up to, but not including 17. And it depends on the .NET Framework 4.5. This one you can always just remove. Visual Studio ships, you can install it without .NET Framework, so just get rid of that. And then it needs the core editor, which is always there. So you technically don't need this one if you have another one. But let's just keep it there. And I like the way you do here, Matt. You say 16.0, comma. Now this version range means 16.0 and every version higher than that. And that's exactly how I do it myself for prerequisites. Don't ever do it up here, ever. But for these, it makes perfect sense. And then when we look at what is inside this extension package, we can see a package, a MEF component, and an analyzer. Okay, so that makes sense. That's kind of those analyzers that I saw the pictures of right here. These ones, the Russell analyzers, maybe. But let's take a look. We have a package. Let's see what this package is doing. All right, Ruslan. It's just a C# file. So this is an extension pack, and I doubt that there's any. Oh, wow. It crashed Visual Studio. Well, let's try that again. There we go. Okay, so what does the package do? It doesn't do anything. This package only does one thing, and that's this particular attribute. So this attribute writes to our package.def file. Let's see if we can actually build this particular file. Is there something? I'm wondering if there's something up in the. Just gonna remove that. No, it's a complaint. That's kind of weird. Okay, so the only thing that this one does is that it's okay. Let's find our VSIX here. Did it produce one? It did actually produce one. Whoa, look out here. Look at all this stuff right here. Let's open this. So what's inside the VSIX is a bunch of stuff that does not have to be there. Okay, so it has the DLL of the project itself, then it has the extension pack file, and then a package.def file. So the package def, you can see here, this is auto-generated. So these attributes right here, some of them, these ones, they generate a package def file that we see right here. And that basically goes into the registry. So the only thing that this particular thing is doing is that it's auto-loading and it's registering the product up into the help about. So up into this list right here. That means if you install the extension, you can now find it here. Without this particular line, you would not be able to see that. It wouldn't go up there. So the question is, how important is it to get up here? Not very. The answer is not very. Not a lot of people use this list for anything. But, for completeness, you can do it. I don't see anything wrong with that. But you're not doing anything else. So there's absolutely no reason to load. So you definitely want to remove your auto load. This one says load when there's one or more projects in the solution. Like, no, don't ever load. All the Visual Studio needs is that package def file, which it already has when you install it. And so you're covered from here. And then we can remove this. We don't really need this suppression here. It's okay. So this is kind of all you need. Since you don't have any code in here, we can take the GUID, just put up here like that. Oh, it's a little sweeter. Oh, there's a setting here difference. Okay, it's fine. There we go. So now that's short and sweet. So these installed project registrations, so these numbers, 110 and 112 comes from this VSIX file. And so you can actually take these two things and copy straight into, so you could do it like this. Oh. Like this instead. That. Then we can get rid of that VSIX file. What's it complaining about? It wants system first. Microsoft below. Is that what it is? Yeah, that's what it is. All right. Every time I format the document, I get it makes it wrong. That's my setup here. So there's a disconnect between, like, maybe is there an editor config or something? There's not. Okay, so that might be actually in my system that the problem is. That's totally possible. All right. So let's take a look at this thing that I noticed out here. So if we looked in when it did do the build, let's see here, bin, debug. We see all this stuff. Notice that there's not really any code here. So why does it have all those DLLs? The only thing that it needs to do, or the only code file there is this global suppressions and assembly info right here, which hasn't been filled out. I guess maybe a little bit, but not really. So we don't really have any code. All we need is the package in order to get into the help about with this attribute. And then we need this JSON file, which is what makes this extension an extension pack. Notice how it has a file extension called VSIX. That basically means extension pack. So when you install this Rapid XAML Toolkit extension, Visual Studio will automatically discover that it has a VSIX file. And it would then go and download and install all these extensions as well. So this is really cool. This is Matt's way of saying, here, I'm going to offer you a single download and install that's going to bundle a bunch of other extensions that I can now keep separate. That's really cool. It's like, I love extension packs. It's fantastic.
Hey there, Mads. Got a few questions in the chat for you.
Go for it. There's a solution level editor config. Okay. There it is. All right. So it is right there. Okay, so yeah. So there's something, my settings conflict somehow. And Razzie says that the docs folder has some visuals. That's cool. So, but no one goes and looks in the docs folder, right? You go look on the README file. So if they're not there, I'm not necessarily going to see those files. Oh yeah, it's right here. I could look under solution items. They're right up here. Okay, is that it for now, James? The comments?
You're good to go. I love also I pop in. I thought I could hide myself always, but now I'm just in your stream forever. So hi everybody. Hope everyone's having a great day. All right, bye-bye.
Awesome. All right, let's move on. So this is kind of a funky one. So, okay, so there's no code needed in this project. All it actually needs is the VSIX file, what makes it an extension pack. So you could argue that we could completely remove this whole class to the package class. So if we look at the asset types right here, so we definitely don't have a MEF component. So MEF component is C#. It has an attribute called export on it to make it MEF. And I've opened all C# in here, and there is no such classes in here. So there's no MEF component. Then it also says that this current project outputs an analyzer. I don't think that's true either. So let's nuke that. Now there's only package. So this is true, right? There is a package. We could argue that, no, we don't actually need that. And so we can completely remove all assets because we don't need even the package to be there. So let's see if we can do something about all of this output. So for that, I'm going to go and open this in Visual Studio Code. I want to take a look at the csproj file. Here's the csproj file. So I have a suspicion as to what is the problem. Oh yeah, before I do that, let's take a look at the references. So we can see here, there's a bunch of NuGet packages and then a few other things here. So all these NuGet packages, do we need them? I can tell you immediately that the Microsoft Visual Studio SDK contains the SDK analyzers and the core utilities. So we don't need those two. So we don't need, what was that? These two. SDK analyzers, core utilities. So because they're already contained within this one. And then we're going to do it so that we can consume the SDK NuGet package here, but we're not going to treat all those runtime components as something that's going to go in our output. So we're going to say exclude assets equals runtime. Okay. So if you're using package reference like this for the SDK NuGet package, always do this. Always exclude runtime assets. So now we can reload this. And let's just do a clean to completely nuke the folder here. Oh, I couldn't do that because I have it open. So now the debug folder here is clean. So let's do a build again. So that looks a lot better, right? Now it's a lot cleaner here. So let's open this, see what's inside. So now we just have the right things. There's not really a reason to have the PDB file in there either because it doesn't really contain any code. So let's see here. So let's continue the cleanup. We don't need global suppressions. Let's just get rid of that. And then when it comes to this VSIX file, the only thing this VSIX file was doing was to give the name and description for use in this particular attribute. That's all it was used for. So let's just nuke that too. And then let's hit F4 to go to properties for this particular one and say, do you want to include debug symbols in the VSIX container? So this is the PDB file. Let's just set that to false because there's not really anything to debug here. So we can clean this again. Let's just do a build. And let's see what file size we get to here. So now we're at 15 kilobytes. I don't know if you remember, but it was actually over 200 when we started. We can also get rid of the DLL file if we want to, but let's just keep the package for now. But this is starting to look good. And resources here, we have a 2 kilobyte PNG. The question is that PNG small enough? Let's take a look. Can we make it smaller? This is the logo. I'm going to right click and use the image optimizer and say optimize for best quality. Oh, it's already optimized. Wonderful. This one, let's see here. This one doesn't have any intricate. Let's just look at it real quick here. It's kind of straight lines. So we can even optimize this probably for best compression. Oh, but it already was. Cool. So 15 kilobytes, that is probably as low as we're going to get. So this is a debug build. That means that you know that a VSIX is just a zip container, right? So if we open it just like this, it's just a zip file. By default, when you build in debug mode, it doesn't compress at all. The VSIX. It just uses the zip file as a container format, but it doesn't actually compress it, which it also could. But it only does that on release builds. So if we did a release build, we would see this probably to go under 10 kilobytes. It would be like 8 kilobytes or something like that. That's pretty impressive for an extension to be that small. Do we care? Do we care about this? 200 is not that much, is it? Well, think about it this way. You might be on a fast internet connection, but not everyone in the world is. And even more so, some people are actually paying for the amount of bandwidth they use. So you might be on a flat rate plan, but some people actually pay per, let's say, gigabyte or something like that, places in the world. And so it's very respectful of us to make sure that we don't use more of their bandwidth than we have to. So yes, it matters. It's the respectful thing to do. Keep the file sizes as small as possible. Okay. So far, so good. This is starting to look real good. I really like this. Let's see here. So then we have some other projects. And let's see, when we looked at, we see here what we had. We had generators, analyzers, and item templates. Item templates. I don't know, templates has something called VS template. If I can find it. So there's no templates here. Okay, maybe they weren't. No, they weren't in the projects I got rid of, I think. Okay, so then there were generators. Okay. So here we got a package. This is a separate extension again, right? Again, this is a separate extension because it's included in that extension pack. So on this one is called Rapid XAML Generation. And let's see what we got here. Again, we got a preview release, so you may want to do the preview tag here. And you depend on MPF. So MPF we can always remove. Just remove MPF. This is a legacy thing that used to be in our project templates by default for extensibility. So not nuke that. And as I said, always just nuke the .NET framework because that's Visual Studio. You're basically depending on a version of .NET framework that the version of your minimum targeted Visual Studio guarantees exist, right? You like 16 installs like 472 or something like that. So you never have to. Don't worry about this one. There we go.
Hey there, Mads. Some 3 comments will go up from Mr. Lacey.
All right. It started out as everything in a single extension, but was split into multiple packages. Yeah, I've done a few of those too. I think you found all the remnants when it was a single package. Yeah. Yeah, this is the typical thing, right? You start writing and then you start refactoring it out after you probably released and ran the first version. and then you never get to sort of the last bit of cleanup. Oh, solution items have an overview of each developer notes. Oh, I love it. Okay, this is very nice. It's complicated. All right. So you have a command line tool, distribute as a NuGet package. And then you can test it doing that. And you can test custom analyzers. This is a nice little detail, Matt. I like this. Have like a developer walkthrough or whatever, like explanation. That's wonderful. Oh, the item templates are in a different solution file. Okay, so let's look at that afterwards. Yeah, because there was 2 solutions here. I just opened one of them. That's another solution, but there it is. Okay, we'll look at that after. Okay, so let's see what he's doing here. He's got a package. So he says that there's MEF components, package, and analyzer. And there's definitely a package. That's right here. He auto loads that. So we never really want auto load. Like that's if we can get away with it. So why do we need to auto load? Let's see what's going on. Let's go to the initialize async. So this is automatically executed once the extension loads. And so he's initializing some package. What is this? Shared package. Okay, so there's like a component. It sets up logging, telemetry. Okay, yeah. This is kind of common to do. And that might be why he does it at startup. At when there's a project. And then we register the commands. Okay. And so these commands could have events like before query status or other events that makes him want to load these on startup, or not on startup, on solution load. But Matt, is this loads on all solutions? Okay. You're actually only interested in the ones that have, and I don't know if this is true, but let's say it's true, that has C# and Visual Basic projects. And there is actually, so if that's true, I don't know if it is. So UI context, it could be contexts actually. All capital letters, let's see. Then we have CS, then you can say C# project. See that? Or the VB project, yeah. For instance. That way you don't load unnecessarily. So you only load when you have to. All right. So let's take a look at some of your commands here. A base command. Yeah, that's always nice to tuck some things away here. You got some logging going on. Oh, interesting that you've broken these up. I used to do this too back in 15, but now that you're doing shell 16, you don't have to do that because you can easily, like an async package is cast easily, like normally to an async service provider. So where did the, I'm in the shared. I'm in the wrong place. Here, let's go take a look at your copy to clipboard command. Command ID. Okay. Where is that? Over there. Okay. So you're getting the service. So here you get the service. Okay. Hey, let me just show you something that's kind of nice. In shell 16, are you using shell 16? Maybe. If you're using shell 16, do it this way. Isn't that just so much nicer? You can just use the generic from that to that. Actually, in this particular case, weirdly enough, you can just do iMenu command service to iMenu command service. A little trick. All right. So, all right. And then you have that. Okay, so a thing we can do. So let's go F12 to this one. Now we go to the package where you have the command set right here. So the command set you're getting from your VSIX file. So let's just take a look at that GUID. 8C2 this one. So you now have two sources of truth, right? You have one here. If I change it here, it doesn't change here, and that means your command is not going to work. You have two sources of truth. So what you really want to do is that you want to go into your VSIX file, right-click, and say synchronize to code file. And that will give you all the stuff that you have right here. So it basically takes all the GUIDs and IDs and puts from your VSIX file, and it will now forever synchronize them, such that when you're doing your command here, we're just going to do something else. So this is called generation command set. So let's see here. So it create package GUIDs. Was it generation command set? Here. And the command ID is 4128. Oh dear. Copy to clipboard command. It must be this one, right? This could be that. This hex could be that number. Copy to clipboard command. So I'll just do package IDs. Copy to clipboard command ID. Now you have a single source of truth. It's wonderful. You can get rid of this. Yeah, copy to clipboard. Okay. So you can see here, you're not using the analyzer that comes with the SDK, which tells you, oh, this is actually different. Okay. It's following some code here. No, I think you are using that analyzer. Actually, let's take a look at NuGet for a moment. I forgot to do that on the other, on the first project we looked at. No packages found to update. Well, that's wonderful. Let's go back and do that on the first one we looked at, because there's a few things to mention here. So the Visual Studio SDK, oh, it's like I can't find it right now. It's not online. You see that? That's weird. There's a newer version of this. Maybe we can force it to do it. There we go. And it's not a preview, but there is a newer version. So you're on 202. So this is like general. When it comes to the Visual Studio SDK, always get the highest version of the SDK that the minimum version of Visual Studio that your extension supports matches with the version number. So your minimum supported version is version 16.0. So you want to get as high as you can on 16.0. That would be this one, 206. So always get to the highest. Get the newest. When it comes to the build tools, first of all, you don't actually need the build tools unless you have a CI server that doesn't have Visual Studio installed. That's the only reason that it's here. Or, and also like so that in the future, if you come back and Visual Studio has changed a whole lot, then it will use these build tools, which has all the build tasks and targets and so on. So the rules here are a little different than it is for the SDK. For build tools, you want to be as high as you can possibly get, where they're matching the major version, so 16.x, right? So whenever we get to version 17, if you support Visual Studio 16, you want to be as high on 16 without going up into 17 for the build tools package. So you would want this one. And that just makes sure that you're sort of always on the latest and greatest. So, but you're not really using the Visual Studio SDK. You have the package class, so I guess you need it. You don't really have any analyzers or style cups, so you can probably just get rid of the analyzers, both of those NuGet packages. Okay.
Hey, Mads. Got a few great questions in the chat for you here. This one's actually my favorite.
Why am I streaming from my garage? This is my office. It might look like a garage. It might have a garage door. We may have parked our car in here in the past, but it is my office, and it has been for since March, since the beginning of March. So, yeah, this is where my desk is. Good question. All right. So, another question. I see that these extensions require a lot of attributes. Is there an overview or doc somewhere of all possible values for VSIX projects? Short answer is no. But it's not like we're lost. If you're on a recent version of Visual Studio, you can always go in here and start typing an attribute. And you will get IntelliSense, even though you see here, I just have 3 things. Well, actually 1. I only have 1 namespace imported, but because you have a recent version of Visual Studio, I actually get IntelliSense for even the even namespaces that I don't have using statements for. So, you could just go in and search. Hang on. A lot of them starts with provide. Like this. So that's a good way of going in and see. Okay. You can provide a whole lot of things here. Right. So you can explore things like that. Attribute might actually be the worst one because it doesn't show. Oh no, here it does show up. So you have other ones. Other attributes here. None of them from Microsoft. Okay. So maybe we can go in here and do. Okay, so now we have more attributes. So this is everything that contains the word attribute. There we go. So there's a lot of attributes available. Let's see, will it not tell us if they're Microsoft? See, now they will say they're from Microsoft Visual Studio, this and that. There we go. So you find the ones that are Microsoft Visual Studio, and then you can see it. But no, there's no list. Usually you search for what it is that you want to do, and then maybe that will help you, find that attribute. GitHub is the best place for me when I search for things. So go check it out. But, IntelliSense many times is how we discover all these APIs, and that's unfortunately just the nature of extensibility. And then, of course, do what Matt Lacey here is doing. Put things on GitHub, make it open source so we can learn from each other. Super important. Yeah, Matt says, I don't like the 2 sources of truth, but had trouble getting the C# generated from the VSIX to work reliably. Now it's set up. It's not a problem, but I'll look at generating again in the future. Yeah. The old model I had wasn't as good. And the new one I have had 0 problems with. That's in the extensibility essentials. So make sure to get the extension called extensibility essentials. It had the ability to do what I did up here. I right-clicked the VSIX file and said synchronize to code file, which produced this file. We can actually do the same on our VSIX manifest. So I'm going to do that right here, synchronize the code file. So now I have all that stuff in my VSIX manifest. And if you have an assembly info file right here, for instance, now we can go in and fix it up. So remove comments. So we say VSIX dot V6 dot name, V6 dot description, V6 dot author, V6 dot name, copyright, I actually just do v6.author, but I guess you could like just put the author right there, right? So you wanted to keep that. And you want to keep the version in sync as well. Boom. So that's kind of neat. Now that we've done that, we can actually come in to your package where we did this stuff. And now that we actually have that, we can just say name. This long one, description, is now v6.description. And this one becomes v6.version. Kind of neat, huh? So now we have one source of truth for our v6 manifest file, the XML file, right? This one. And we have it as well for our VSIX file, the Visual Studio command table file. So that's kind of neat. All right, let's see here. Options pages. Whoa. So options pages, I noticed there were options pages before because if I look at the package file, I noticed that there was a provide options page. Again, see, it starts with the word provide. So when I looked at copy to clipboard, that one did not need to have any auto loading. There was nothing in there that needed auto loading. Tools options doesn't need auto loading. Like when you have a tools options page, let's just go to one. I'll do one here. This is from a extension. When I did that, when I just went in here, clicked shortcuts, and it showed this particular page, that will automatically load your package. You don't need to auto load your extension package in order to cater for tools options dialogues like this. Okay. So there's one thing you are missing here in the provide options page. Control D to copy, make a copy of that line. You need to provide profile. Let's see here. It's kind of category name. It's probably similar. Yeah, this one. Then you don't actually need anything here. You just keep those. That's fine. And is tools options page true? So we looked at that last time. That's to make sure, unless without this, nobody can export your settings. So if you go here, export your settings, you are now one of these zeros or one or twos or whatever. This is now you. You're in here. You will be 106 in this list. What it means is like it's not so important for like exporting and importing because people don't do that often, but for roaming settings. So if they change machines or if they have, multiple instances of Visual Studio installed on the same machine, those settings will be synchronized. Without provide profile, the settings will not be synchronized and the user loses them every time they, installs a fresh Visual Studio. So keep that in mind. Okay. Options. All right. So let's see if I can find the options page. Settings config page, F12. Let's take a look. Oh, so I've actually never done this. I've actually never done a UI element dialog page. So basically what this means is that, so there's two ways we can do options pages. The one I just showed you, this one is any class that inherits from what's called a dialog page. And you get this property grid right here. But then you have stuff like this that is custom. This is like a custom UI written in WinForms or WPF or native, whatever. And that uses, instead of dialog page, it uses UI element dialog page. I've actually never done this. So this is kind of cool. So what does it do? This settings control, UI element here. So it basically news up a settings control. and sets that as a child. So that becomes the automation object or something like that. Let's see here. Okay, so then you have your SAML. That's cool. I won't go into that. I'm not very strong in the world of SAML, though I am kind of curious. Let's just take a look. Is it like, for people that are really good at SAML, is it like you never look at the designer, you only look at the XML? Is that how it works? Or like poll? Let me know in the comments. Where do you do? Do you use the designer or do you not use the designer for SAML? Okay, and I can see here you are not doing any theming or anything like that, which is fine because the tools option page is not themed. It always looks the same color whether you are in dark theme or blue theme or light theme or whatever. So that's fine. You don't have to have that. I don't know if you have other stuff. Is this like a custom thing, or is that just part of the? They could also. Oh, but here you do. Look at this. No. There it is. Okay, so you do theming. Yeah. Okay. You use strings. You do resx. Do you do any images? Nope. No images in any of the SAML. That's fine. Cool. So if you have any issue with a REST as use both designer for quick layouts or otherwise just code for all your fixes. And people say they use both. Yeah, I kind of use both, but oftentimes I tend to just use the XML, but then I need the designer sometimes. I don't know. It picks up the default VS theming, also tested with high contrast, Matt says. All right, cool. That's awesome. Okay, Matt, so I kind of just went over a bunch of things. We could continue for a while here. I think we found a lot of good things. Are there anything particular you want me to look at right now? Oh, warning triangle control. Is this image? Oh, so you have it in your resource file. Okay. It's a PNG. Okay, so that's probably fine. If you had a way to use the built-in instead of shipping your own icon, because you're using bitmaps. So what's the problem with bitmaps? It is that they don't scale. So Visual Studio, some people use 200 DPI, some people use 100 DPI, some people use even higher DPIs. And so scaling from like 16 by 16 pixel and all the way up is not captured within a bitmap. You need either vector graphics like SAML itself, or you need an ICO file in all the different variations, and that tend to get very large. So it's always like, if you can use one that's built in like here, there's almost 4,000 icons built into Visual Studio. Then grab one of those known monikers collection. And then in your SAML, instead of using an image, you want to use the one that's called a crisp image. Crisp image. And so where is it? You don't have it. So it's in a namespace that you don't have. So if you go online and you go to, let's see here, go to, what do we search for? We search for image catalog Visual Studio. Here we go. It'll actually show you how to use all these in SAML, for instance. And it's actually pretty cool. Yeah, you can see like they're super crisp because all those icons, all those 4,000 icons are SAML. They are vector graphics. So that's pretty sweet. Anyway, so this will explain to you how to, so you're using the image service here, right? import this into your SAML, use the imaging : crisp image. I didn't do that. So you might already have that namespace then. Matt, is there anything else that we should look at real quick here at the end? Anything you think that I've missed? If not, I think we should look at. Let's see here. Are you my dad? Anton, I don't think so. But I like your last name, though. Okay, so does anyone have any like general questions to what they've seen so far, or just extensibility questions? Let's see here. And I hope, Matt, that this was helpful. It seems that there is. Let's just give it a little bit of time. People might be typing here. Let's see. Oh, I didn't even see that, but there's more than one extension pack. So when you install, what is this one? This is the generation project. Also has an extension pack. It will install the common functionality. Oh, so that means that you have a soft dependency on common functionality, but not a hard dependency. Matt, is that correct? Do you absolutely depend on this? Because an extension pack is actually doesn't guarantee that the user will install the child extension. It suggests to the user to install them, but the user can choose not to. So if you have a hard dependency, you shouldn't use an extension pack. Instead, you should use a dependency object in your VSIX manifest. So that basically you embed the VSIX you depend on into your VSIX. And then you add a dependency item on the element in the VSIX manifest for that. Take a quick look at Rapid XAML.dev, Matt says. .dev? What is that? What do you got there, Matt? The common package includes things that I only want one of. Oh, yeah, you only want one of them. So, but they will only be installed once. So here's the thing: if you have multiple extension that embeds the same extension, then it will only install the one that is the newest. So Visual Studio can only install one as long as the ID, the product ID of that embedded extension is the same. It remains the same. It remains like the only one there. So that's all built into Visual Studio, and you won't be able to just uninstall that extension either, because it's not even visible in the extension and updates dialog. Oh, I mean, manage extension dialog. It used to be called extension and updates dialog. Internally, we just call it the E and U dialog. Oh, it's a website. Got it, Matt. Rapid XAML .dev. Oh, that's cool. Man, I should get a .dev. Yeah, see, this is pretty. I really like that style. Absolutely. Okay, so I think that was it for the questions. If you have any extensions out there that you would like to have to do a public code review of here with me on a Friday afternoon, then follow me on Twitter, send me a message, comment here on this video, and we'll make sure to schedule a code review here. It might feel a little uncomfortable because you're on the spot. I do understand that, but think about it this way. Hopefully we're able to make your extension better. You learn something, and all the viewers learn something, and so their extensions might also improve, and together we can make extensions better overall. So the next time someone Googles something or go to GitHub to figure out how to do something, they're going to find an example that might be of higher quality, and that makes our lives better because we're going to have higher quality extensions all around. So even though it might be uncomfortable, I hope not too much. And yeah, shoot me a message, comment, tweet, whatever. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you'll join me again next week. Same time, same place. See you then.